Hey guys, today's episode we're bringing on Ivan Tandyo, who is the director and founder of the 11th Space. The 11th Space is pretty much a hub for young entrepreneurs to be mentored, to grow, and a place for them to do business. Now, Ivan has a very inspirational story, a lot of learnings from his own personal journey that we can learn from. So if you're looking to venture out into starting a new business, scaling your existing business, or learning more about your options in your career, this podcast is the perfect one for you. So I hope you enjoy it. That's fine. So first of all, thanks for coming, Ko. I really appreciate it. We really are trying to expand the podcast. And I feel like we're trying to get people who have walked the walk, entrepreneurs who have come, who have learned from their mistakes and who are continuing to, evolve, help the next generation of people. And I thought that you would be perfect. The perfect guest. So yeah. So first of all, I just want to ask, so how did you get started in business, Ko? I know you went to uni here, right?
I went to uni here.
You went to uni here? Yeah.
Right after high school in Singapore.
Yeah.
So I went to Australia. I had to do foundations. Melbourne. I did Trinity Foundation and then I went to RMIT after that. Yeah.
What was the plan? For you to go back home after, or?
The initial plan was for me to study in Australia and then come back home to Indonesia, help out my fathers and my uncle started he owned a mega business in Indonesia, and I was supposed to be part of it. It's he's a very successful man. My eyes was fixed on that. I want to do that, and really want to be a part of it because it's fun. It's a public company.
So when you first came to Australia,
Yes.
The plan was to stay here or go home and to your parents' business, or what was the plan?
To be honest, when I was young, I had no plans. I'm the kind of guy who YOLO. Before they invented that words, even I was so YOLO. I didn't have any plan because my nature, I wanted to become in the part of like entertainment. I want to be in the band. I want to be in the
want
music.
to be a musician?
Yeah, the music, not just musician, but more like in the entertainment industries. So I like to make movies. When I was young, I remember I'm making a few indie movies and stuff
So
like
it's a bit like Ko Edwin then, right?
a bit like Edwin, but I do more on the presenting. So I'm a presenter. So I was a presenter I was an MC. My side job was doing MC every weekends on parties, wedding. I don't know how many thousand have done that during schools and all that. Music, composing, I write songs.
So you were a wedding MC?
I was a wedding MC for many, many years. And presenters as well. So every time I host events like big parties and whatever, uni parties, whatever, they asked me to become the host, And that was my passions. And I wanted to be my ultimate goal last time was very simple. I want to become the MTV VJ. MTV video jockey. That's it.
Yeah.
Back then, Joe.
Yeah. How old were you then?
Well, I had that when I studied in Singapore during high school. MTV based in Singapore. So I really, really want to work for MTV, for the music industries as a music presenter, video jockey and all that. It grown to me. So during uni, I wasn't really serious. The pressure from my parents was to do business. So I just do it because of the pressure. Actually, my mind was somewhere else. I was just in the gig every weekend. I was just on the show. I was just in the band. I was just presenting, doing MCs and stuff like that. Really focused. So you asked me about the plan. There wasn't any plan but that. But then I received pressure from my family. No, every Asian good boy must become a businessman.
You came from a business family, your parents?
Yes, business family. My uncle, my god uncle, at least he founded a company now who's grown massively. They're $1 billion company now. They were like number 25 biggest company in Indonesia, and he's a billionaire now. So it's amazing. He started from zero. So I was quite inspired by that, but I never want to be that, in a way. So, but then I studied economy. I did finance here and banking.
That was in here?
In uni, in RMIT.
Sure.
So, and in the back of my mind, I knew that I might not be able to become a part of the entertainment industries. Mm-hmm. So, and then I thought, if I can't get that, probably I just went back home to Indonesia, at least I got a proper job with my family, work for my dad or work for my uncle and things like that. So there was just a plan coming back. My uncle keeps saying, come help me. And my dad says, okay, come and help us and all that. But then things change.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, instead of going back to Indonesia when you graduated, I know you opened Kimchi Grandma, right? Is that the name of the place?
Yes,
Yeah. Yeah. So what was the inspiration behind doing that venture? That's your first, right?
The first one was Crown. We did not Crown Casino, but Crown Cafe. It was a small cafe that we bought. Let me just rewind it back a little bit, because before I do that, I didn't do well in my uni, obviously, because I was doing it not out of my passions. So I got expelled by university just because spending time too many things in the entertainment industries, right?
So the university kicked you out,
Kicked me out.
because
I didn't study and I was just mucking around with studies. So sorry to disappoint you, audience. And might not the guy that you
That's all right.
will wish for.
It makes the story cooler.
Yeah, I got expelled, man. And I remember coming back to Indonesia and I thought, Dad, this is it. My dad was gonna call me home. I'm gonna go home. This is the last flight I'm gonna take from Australia. I remember I was trembling because I was really scared. My dad was a very angry person back then. Now he's changed, right? I'm very close with him. Coming back to Indonesia, I remember I clear out in my room. Like when I arrive, I clear out every hard pieces that I have in my room, so he cannot throw me. So he can't throw me hard items, you know. Yeah. I remember just putting pillows and everything. My laptops all clear out because I know I thought he was gonna just hit me. Yeah. So he came back home and he came to my room as my predictions, and he said, "I know what happened." He said, and I said, "I gotta talk to you." So he went inside, but then something different happened there. My dad suddenly said, "I want to say sorry to you." It blew my mind. I wasn't ready for that, bro. So I was ready for him to get angry, throw stuff to me, and say that that's it. You're not going anywhere. You just stay in Indonesia. Forget it. Screw your career. You want to become. You don't want to become successful. So be it. Come back home. I thought that was it. I was ready for that, but I wasn't ready for this. The first statement he came out from his mouth was, "I'm sorry." Wow. Daddy wanted to say sorry to you. I said, "Why?" And he said, "Yeah, because maybe it's been too long. I've been trying to shove my dream into yours. Maybe this is not you. And I try to understand you as my son. Whatever you want to do now, I will support you." I cried, bro. I couldn't stand that kind of thing. And I actually literally begged on his feet saying that, "Daddy, I'm so sorry. Give me a chance to change." And that's what the beginning of my change. Yeah. That's why I ended up chasing my dreams. I started to find my dreams, and God is good because I didn't know. I thought I was so artsy. I'm a very art person. I'm a musician. I compose music. I write scripts, and that's my passion. I direct movies, but then at the end, I didn't know that God has a different plan, and He actually planned for me to become an entrepreneur and to become the trainer of entrepreneur. Now, I never really thought about that. And then my first step. But again, a lot of work need to be done. I was so raw. Again, because I screw up a lot of my time. So I have to pay it back. I have to revamp my strengthen my skills and all that out after school, because I didn't do it during my school period. So I have to do it after that. So a lot of years that I spent on hustling outside in the marketplace just to get myself ready. And that's when I got the first opportunity. When I finished uni, my dad asked me like, "Hey, now you're done. You want to come back to Indonesia? Help me run as a professional, or you want to become a CEO of this company or whatever, or do you want to do business?" And I asked him a simple question, "Daddy, so two options, professionals or entrepreneur." My dad says there's nothing wrong with both of them. You can become a good businessman, but you also can become a really good CEO or professional in the business. So I asked him, "Okay, Dad, since you're the CEO of this mega company, how long do I need how long does it take for me to take your seats?" Very
so you want to be in the business.
And I asked him if I was making my choices. I was making my choice. And then I said, "How long do I need to take your seats?" And he said, "Probably 20 years to 25 years. That if you are doing well, and that already I help you." Many years. Oh my gosh, that's a long time.
What business is your father doing?
Chemical. He's the CEO of Akar Corporindo. It's chemical logistics. So they build logistics and infrastructures. They've now building 3,000 hectares in Southeast Java, on top of Surabaya in Gresik, is including ports. They have their own ports, jetty, and then the terminal, even power plant and all that. 3,000 hectares of just ports, and they call it integrated commercial. What do you call it? Warehousing estate, something like that. Yeah. And they do trading petroleum as well. So they bring in petroleum. I think they're in partnership with BP. So they bring in fuel for Indonesia. Yeah.
Okay.
I thought I was gonna be okay, and then I said, 20 years too long, Daddy. So let me just try the other one. I want to become a businessman. I said, okay, and then opportunity came. That cafe, small cafe, it's very small cafe, probably 18 square meters size.
Are we talking about in Australia, or was
Australia.
this was here? Okay,
It was in Australia.
Sure.
So Crown Cafe came out. Yes, opportunity came out. My dad gave me the seed funding, so he invested in that, and 50-50 with my other friend, my other partners, Randy. So we both do it, and then and that was my first business. So it's a small cafes, and again, this is the thing. A lot of I think the young kids and the young entrepreneurs, they don't realize that you got to really work hard for it, and everything doesn't come cheap, right? And that was the beginning of it. That was the beginning where my eyes was open. The reality is different. Apparently, to achieve your success, it requires you to work hard. In Navanti Holdings, we don't just believe in working smart. A lot of people say, nowadays you got to work smart. To me, no, that's not right. In Navanti, at least, for us, we believe in working smart, but work hard. So we work hard. We work smart. I tell all my directors, all my managers, get your hands dirty. Get your hands dirty. Because that's servant leadership. That's a value that we really believe in, servant leadership as well. If you truly believe in servant leadership, meaning you are ready to become a servant, even though you're a leader. Yeah, you're ready to service people. And if you service people, look what happened. Your hand touched the water, your hand gets smudged and all that. You need to get your hands dirty if you're ready to serve. So that's the beginning of my journey. So and that was the beginning of my training ground before I'm here now.
What was the biggest learning lesson for you in your first couple of restaurants? Because I know you did a lot of food and beverage, right? And in that industry, there's a lot of things that you can apply today in your current businesses. What was the biggest takeaway for you?
The first lesson will be business is not easy. Business come at a cost, and business is real. So when you build a business, if I can turn back time, a lot of people ask me, Ivan, if you can turn back time, because I've been through so much, Joe, so much. It's almost like what's happening in the movie, those are the things that people don't experience. I got chased by people. It's just so many things here. You can listen to my story, but then people ask me, if you can turn back time, what would you do? And I thought one of them is that find a good mentor and listen to him. There's no use of you finding a mentor if you don't listen to him. So I always say, find a mentor, that's one, but it comes with the other one. Listen to him. Listen to him or her. Listen to them, because you need a mentor. Back then, probably because I was lacking of wanting to be taught. That means I ignore having a mentor. Probably there were a mentor around me. Not like the today's climate where you get mentorship everywhere. Mentorship is a sexy thing these days, right? So even like we built 11 Space because I want to create an incubator where we can mentor and churn up startups. That's what we do. We want to help startup SME to get into the business, get into the market. We mentor them. We teach them A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Back then, it wasn't like that. It wasn't so intentional. So the challenge for me, whether I want to have a mentor, whether I realize that I need a mentor, but if I can tell the new generation, you need to find a mentor. Find a mentor, find someone who's experienced, who knows, who have the understanding of the things that you want to do. And listen to them. So back then, looking back, the mistakes that I made mostly were too harsh. The decision that I made was too quickly, no calculations, no projections. A lot of people doing it by instinct. And instinct is right, but you got to do your DD as well. And doing DD, the right DD is what is that? How to do the right DD? Back then, okay, I bought a restaurant, the Crown Cafe. Looks like a good deal for a price, but good deals only come on a value if the value is right. Well, when the cafe that we bought was quite cheap, Joel. But whether that's worth the value, you don't know. And how would I know if I don't know how to do a proper DD and valuations? So back then I thought, I just look at I sit there for a few hours looking, it's quite busy. A lot of people buy the food. I sit there for a
with the
week.
flow, pretty much.
And go with the flow. And I thought, this is quite busy. Then that's how I test whether they are good business or not. And I look at the sandwich. I try to buy the sandwich. It tastes good. And I thought just by tasting the product, sitting there looking at the traffic is okay. I thought it was good. There are more than that in acquiring business. Nowadays, you do a lot more. So and then the mistake that I made years after that, when I started having few restaurants. I started having 3 restaurants, Korean. We acquired shares of the original kimchi barbecues, and then I own another one, standalone in Burke Street, 2-level restaurants, kimchi barbecue again. And then in Melbourne Central, we opened a franchise concept, Korean fast food kind of thing. Back then nobody done it yet. And and then one of the biggest mistakes I made was miscalculation, or if not, very minimal calculation was made on the projections when I venture out. Say, before we went to Melbourne Central and opened my franchise concept, I didn't even know dealing with shopping malls, and I didn't even know whether this rent is too high and what is considered to be a fair rent. For a retail in a food court,
it pretty much.
Not just how to negotiate. I thought I can make it. Now on top of my head, I straight away know that's way too expensive. I was paying 120,000 plus outgoing, I think, back then, for a stall, food court, and this is like 15 years ago. Wow. A stall in a food court in Melbourne Central, whom I didn't even know what kind of traffic they can bring. I just believe in the sales manager. The salesperson will say, don't worry, the traffic is amazing for people from RMIT, from here. This is the biggest, the busiest food court in the whole Melbourne CBD and all that thing. I paid the same rate in Burke Street for a 2-level restaurant, 2 kitchens, fit more than 100 people, not table, and trade for 24 hours. Because it's a standalone off the street in Melbourne Central. Yeah. It was like back then they still close at 6, except Friday.
Wow!
And I paid that. That's silly mistakes, and that's the beginning of everything. And then that pulled me down. That business pulled me down, and I went to liquidations because of that. And I lost the rest of my restaurants. Well, I kept one. I sold the other shares. I kept one, the one in Burke Street. I closed the one in Melbourne Central. That one went down the drain. Yeah. But I keep this restaurant just as a cow for me to pay back my debt.
Sure.
So I was paying my debt the next 2 to 3 years because I owe people money. And that's the reality. It was tough.
And what was your strategy to get out of that situation? Did you automatically start a new business? Did you get a job? Did you have to ask your parents for cash or?
Everything. Hustle. Yeah. So that's how you hustle, right? So pretty much that's why I kept my restaurant for a little bit, the one in Burke Street. So at least I get income and I can get to pay back my debt. But once it's all done, I sold the restaurant and that's it. My parents helped me a little bit. And then I try to find other incomes. I try to find other source of side gig and all that stuff. I was completely hustling. Next time I'll tell you stories about how I hustle and get the restaurants. Because that's also a hustle.
I know some stories.
How to get that restaurant is also a hustle. But then once it's all done and dusted, so I restarted myself. About 13, 14 years ago. That's when the beginning of this empire. That's the beginning of this. And I restarted not just with the new venture, but with the new me.
Sure.
I almost see myself like I graduated that moment. So I finished another school, which is the street school from the street, right? From the marketplace. And I finished because I was trained quite intensely by my own experience, by the mistakes that I made, by being chased by people, the stress. Oh my God! I got my restaurant was in Melbourne Central in the food court. They put hoarding before. Imagine the stress coming to your restaurant, to your stall in the morning. It's being hoarded 360 degrees, and the whole food court laugh at you, looking at you, and oh, look what happened. This guy cannot pay rent, and I have to beg in front of the property manager who managed me in Melbourne Central. I literally beg, please. It's just, oh my gosh, Jewel, it's crazy.
I can imagine. I'm sure. So what was the turning point for you that made you want to start Navanti and venture into different industries and make businesses that work?
Yeah, I'm always a hustler, right? I hustle, and that's probably one of my key expertise. What do you call it? One of my key secret of success is because I don't give up. I just hustle. Whatever I do, from the thing that I don't have, I hustle it so that it can become something, right? Back then, I knew that I have to do something. I can't go back to Indonesia, and I don't want to disappoint my dad further. In my school days, I didn't really make him proud. In my business day, I didn't really make him proud, and I thought, no, I really need to try again. And back then, I saw opportunities, and I saw okay, what else? Because I was asking myself, what other business can I do now? And now with the conditions, with no capital. Because the rest of the money, I have no money.
Yeah,
I have no money. The only thing that I have is me, my whatever I have in myself. Of course, I have God, and I have Junius. He was my best friend.
Yeah.
He was
Very
like
loyal to you,
he was
huh?
like my brother. He was my little brother. There's another whole story about Junius, and he was helping me in the restaurant. Right, we cried together. We locked the door together when I sold the business. When we experienced banker, he was there. He was just working for me back then. He was in uni, right? But after uni, caught me by surprise as I built my own ventures. I don't know why. Probably got whispered to him. He suddenly said he just want to follow me. I said, "Oh my gosh, are you serious, Jun? I can't pay you. I'm pretty much don't have anything. We just starting." I said, "It's okay, Cole. He's genius. He graduated double degree and with cum laude and dean's list and all that stuff. He can get the job anywhere." But he said, "No, Cole, bro, I'll follow you." I said, "Oh, that got my heart broken, really." But look at where we are now. So look at where he is now. It's amazing. I think it's all from the guy up there. So yeah, back then, how I restarted Joel, I need to find something that doesn't require much money. So I saw the opportunity. I think my eyes is quite sensitive to opportunities, and I saw a lot of I think the Asian money is looking for a safe place to stay or to reside.
Yeah.
And I thought Australia is perfect, and I want to create a one-stop solutions. Almost like an easy landing pad for this money to land to Australia. I provide that house. We service our investors. We create a end-to-end investment house into properties, obviously. And I got my network from my family. I look into what I have in my hand. I got my dad as well, my uncle, and who's very well networked.
Yeah.
I thought, okay, let's approach all their friends and get them to Australia and give this service, because I know this wealth, this money, little huge amount of wealth from Asia who's looking for opportunities. So we provide just that, and just within short period of moment. I remember restarting this with Cobris. Cobris, my long-time business partner. He was also hustling back then, and I proposed this business, and he said, "Oh, would you come on board with this venture?" Suddenly, within a week, I think he mentioned, "Bro, I come on board. Let's do this. Let's build the company." And we built the company.
Who came up with the name?
Both of us, because I keep mentioning about synergy. I said, why don't we name it synergy with an X? Because we are Generation X, and I keep saying synergy. I believe in synergy, working with people. I said, okay. Both of us in my apartments. That's how we started, from my apartments. No money, no capital. We start from the apartment, just come with a concept, build the service platform, and build it. And we took up the license, and that's it. But it works. Perfect timing. Thank God, perfect solutions. within months or half a year, we start to have our own office in Chinatown, really small one. And then from there it grows. And now, looking back 13 years, I think we've moved, Joel, more than $500 million cash worth of money from Indonesia itself.
Wow. Yeah. I think that's why Synergy is so popular amongst the Indonesian community. Yeah.
That's the beauty. And then now we start having, and from there, my entrepreneurial mindset, keep thinking what else we can do, how can we expand. Then slowly, instead of we investing in other infrastructure, other people development, then we start develop our own townhouse. Instead of they investing in other people development, they invest in our development. And then we build our asset management. We start managing asset. Now we manage close to 3,000 properties all across Victoria. We have 8 offices in just Synergy itself. And just everything non-stop. We now build all the supporting businesses, the captive businesses all around it. Like I'm Home, all the furniture, property styling, and then renovation. And then we do the flooring. We import from Germany. Just about everything, cleaning service.
Yeah, so Synergy pretty much was the cash cow, I guess, in terms of building everything, putting everything together.
Yeah, that's the model that I use. And the model that I use to train people, because in 11 Space we train a lot of entrepreneurs. Every training that we make, we build in this house that we deliver, it's based on our own experience, on a real story, and it's a tested model as well. So one of the strongest model that I believe is that you need to focus on building your cash cows. Once your cash cows is up and running, then you can build all the supporting business, the captive business all around it.
Yeah.
And then by then, when it's all done, then you can venture out to build another cash cows and build supporting business. Like we invest in diversified industries now, not just property. Initially, it was just property, but now I'm in manufacturing. We own manufacturing. We're in partnership with one of the oldest brand in Australia. We have a factory in Indonesia and our partners in Melbourne, in Reservoir. But once that become a cash cow, then we build, what other F&Bs or manufacturing business that we can do all around it. And we start having service business. Then we now start investing in IT, startup. We invest in startup, we invest in a few, but one of the most successful was iCondo.
Yeah.
Invest them in seed fund. Now they're on Series A. They're worth 35 million after just 3 years and all that. Now we're gonna help them to go to Series B. That's gonna be 150, 200 million valuation. So that's really exciting.
Yeah. So I noticed that Julius and Bruce are very involved on the Synergy side of the operations, but I noticed with you, it's about managing multiple ventures. So why was it important for you to take that role?
It's my vision.
Yeah.
The vision of Navanti is that we want to become a multinational holding company, investing diversified in the businesses. Our why, or the passion behind the business is we want to help people. Not just help, but we want to give opportunity to people to find their dream and their purpose. That is my biggest joy through business, through entrepreneurships. Even like Bruce, even like Junius, I know back then I was no one, but it was a vision that I cast. And then a guy like Bruce and Junius who know how to execute it, boom, it becomes big. So now I keep seeing a lot of these businesses all around us. We have probably, quite a lot. I don't want to say it here, but most of the business have the similar story. These are people, ordinary people. They find opportunity to find a bigger dream and find their purpose through us. So now they become successful businessmen, successful venture on its own. Yeah. So that's what really fired me up. And right from the beginning, I've told Bruce already, Bruce, and because I need you. You're a great operator. I know you're an executor, just like Julius. I said, but my role. I'm going to step inside. I'm going to focus a lot on my holdings. And he said, that's why I want you to become the MD. Even though we started together, I said, hey, Bruce, I think you need to become the CEO. Like in the development, Julius, I think you need to become the CEO. So I never take CEO roles in the subsidiary company that we have because they are the main player. I'm the supporting player and I will grow the business. I cast vision all the time. I grow the business. I'm still involved in the synergy and the property side of the business as the business development director. So I develop, I expand, I build more network. and thinking ahead, what should we do else? What next? And that's really a good synergy between the three of us. So,
Yeah, yeah. And I noticed with you, Ko, you like helping the next generation of business owners, and you want to mentor and you want to help. Why do you think that's important?
well, number one, I think that passion was built because of my own experience. I don't want them to experience what I've been through, Failures or mistakes ought to be made. You got to make mistakes somewhere here and there, but you don't want to make stupid mistakes or the mistakes that other people have done. So if I already made so much mistakes, I want to help them so they don't have to go through what I went through. So they can start somewhere where at least you make new mistakes. Don't make the mistakes that I made. At least if you make new mistakes, you're up in the standard. That's why we built 11 Space. The whole story of 11, why we name it 11 Space? Because this is when I started 11 Space, it's an incubator for startup, which we established on the 11th year, Navanti Holding investing in diversified businesses. So throughout the journey of Navanti Holdings, it was our 11th year. So the whole idea is that if you can join us, all the new startups or entrepreneurs, they can join us at the 11th Space because we have done 1 to 10. Because I've done, the first one, high yards, the 1 to 10, the 1 to 10 involve making mistakes, silly mistake, dumb mistake, almost getting killed, and all that stuff.
But God, don't you ever think that maybe starting from level 11, don't you think it's better to go to the 1 to 10 first? Do you feel like if you spoon feed these youngsters so much that you might make them soft entrepreneurs and it might hurt them in the long term?
We don't want to spoon feed them, but we want to guide them.
Yeah.
Even if you're starting at 1, you can start on the level of the environment of 11s. Meaning, you still have to do your 1 in a way. In a way, you need to do it from the start. It's not as if like you inherited. If you're a son of a multi-billionaire company and you started suddenly a billionaire. It's not like that. But what I meant by starting at the 11 is that you have someone who will guide you. Don't make mistakes like all these people who starting making silly mistakes like, oh, okay, that rent looks expensive, but I think we can do it. Let's just go ahead and do stupid mistake like that.
It's the dumb stuff.
Okay, let's cut a deal. Or someone offered me this. Okay, sign the contract. Oh, personal guarantee. It's okay. Personal guarantee. A lot of me say, oh, I want to buy this, want to buy that. Negotiation. There are a lot of aspects that we can be there so that even though they're going through that, they're going through it with us. So they don't have to make that mistakes that we made on the first 10 years.
When you look for an entrepreneur who is teachable and someone that what are the characteristics that you look for? Like in a person to know that this one might have he might make it. That person might have a chance. Or this guy, just forget it, go get a job. What are the things that stand out to you?
I got these questions quite often. And especially, normally they phrase it different from you. They ask me like, Ivan, if you're investing, what kind of founder you're looking for? Same thing. And you mentioned it with your own word just now, Joel. For my number one, exactly what you said, has to be teachable. Because I've encountered a lot of smart people, but if they're not teachable, they're stuck on themselves, they're stuck on that standard.
Which is a lot of people.
They're not going to grow.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people. So for us, number one, it has to be teachable. Because we here portray ourselves as a mentor. Our role is being a mentor. We want to expand you, we want to grow you. If you don't listen, again, like I mentioned earlier, if you have a mentor, what's the point of having a mentor if you don't listen to them? So for me, being teachable is number one. Number two, I think they have to have some sort of, if this is talking just purely on the entrepreneurship, as we mentioned earlier, just get a job. So for people to become a businessman, I think you have to have a commercial sense. It's so important because some people, it's not just like that. Just very technical, very skillful, just work for someone in a specific department.
You mean experience?
Not just that. It's bahasa Indonesia nalar business. It's an instinct, like a business instinct, like a commercial sense. How
just business savvy, business acumen.
Not just business acumen. How do I say? Okay, a lot of the technology startup founder, they are geek, they're smart, they're genius in the technology, but they don't have any business sense at all. They don't know how to monetize it. They don't know how to think commercially. They don't know how to read risk and all that. They don't know how to see whether this is a good deal or bad deals and all that stuff. And that's, I think, instinctively, yes, you can learn, but you got to see whether you have that seed in you. I think that's very important, and whether they can grow that seed to become, a savvy businessman, as you said. Yeah, I think those two are very important. Yeah,
Sure. And just in terms of the business landscape in Australia, where do you feel like it's heading? Because if you ask me, I feel like, in Australia, it's so comfortable to be a staff. You can work 9 to 5. Yeah, it sucks, but you get paid all right in this country. You get enough money to go on holiday. 2 weeks a year. You can buy a Rolex after a couple of years too. A lot of people don't want to start businesses. You know what I mean? Do you feel like that is going to that might discourage people from starting businesses or from venturing out?
it's a very valid statement that you made. Australia is very comfortable. The government is pretty awesome, right?
I know. Whereas in Indonesia, you can't be a staff, right? You can't. If you want to be rich, you got to own.
Well, yeah, in Australia, you can live very, very comfortably being a staff, and the government support on the health and
I think JobKeeper was a
on
good example of that. Yeah.
JobKeeper and all that. Yeah, you're right. They can own Rolex and everything. Well, I guess, the market in Australia and the demographic of entrepreneurship in Australia is still very, very behind in comparisons to Americans.
Sure.
And people in Singapore, in Hong Kong, they're all very entrepreneurial. I think it gets better. I think people like us and people like now, if you notice now, universities started to have accelerator. Back then, there's no accelerator. The whole idea is to introduce the public and to incentivize the public that, hey, come on, start your own business. Because SMEs is actually the main GDP producer of a country. In Australia, I think it was more than 95% or 90% GDP came. Don't quote me, but I remember that I saw these stats before coming into my table. It was something like 90% the GDP was coming in from SMEs. Yeah, so SMEs meaning accountant, a tradies, company who run cleaning service and stuff like that. So SMEs is a crucial departments within the economy itself. And Australia, we understand that and we want to focus in that. That's why we want to push. Now they have a lot of government grants coming in for new businesses, for startups and all that stuff. Universities starting to push, come on, do free. This accelerator is free, but you just need to join. There are more and more competition. I was just called being a judge last year in the panel as part of a judge panel with the City of Melbourne. They run a innovation startup competition and all that. Now this thing is happening because of that very reason, Joe. They want to induce people to be aware, come on, start a business, start a business, build a business. Yeah. But I see it will change. I think it will be there. I think that more and more people are aware about this.
Yeah, and I think business, there is a lot of challenges that you don't actually know until you actually do it, right?
Yeah.
When I was working at Nando's, for my parents, it's very established. All the systems are there, so it's just for me to pretty much learn. But when I started James and Brothers, and all these projects, I start to realize that there's a lot of things that I overlooked. No matter how experienced I was. Now, what do you feel like is the biggest problem with young business owners today? What do you feel? Because, let's be honest, the majority of them don't work out, or they fail, or whatever, which is normal. But why do you think that is?
I think sometimes we give up too early.
Yeah.
That's why I mentioned earlier. I think one of my strongest traits is I don't give up. I'm hard-headed, stubborn, and I'm a hustler. So I think that nowadays, because of, again, the landscape are very comfortable in Australia, there are a lot of safety net and all that. So people just give up too easily. And probably, if I can say this word, we become more spoiled bread. Because, I got cut. Back then, just grab a tissue, wrap it up, just do it again, But now I got cut. Oh, it's dangerous. Okay, maybe that's one of the main killer, because you might not successful from your first 10 business, but your 11 might be. The first business might not be successful, but your third might be. So it depends really. You have to, of course, obviously, you have to keep making calculative risk, but then you have to take the risk. Yeah, and that's so important. I think that's very important for young entrepreneurs, and to be serious, to be focused in what they didn't want to do. Once you already, really focus, want to do this, you throw everything in. Don't just half put your feet in one water and just plunge into the water and swim. You just keep doing it.
I know you work with a lot of international students as well. Yeah.
That's relevant to the being spoiled.
Yeah.
That's even a bigger issue.
Yeah, and I know that there is a lot of traffic for Indonesians in the 11 space and stuff like that. Like, what are the challenges that you find trying to educate them? Because I understand that they're in a country that's not their first language. They're in an economic scene that they're not quite familiar with. What's the biggest challenge that you have with trying to educate them and trying to show them the way of business here and to be successful?
I guess number one, we need to change their paradigm and eliminate the fear. The thought of fear in their head, like, this is like foreign country, I'm not gonna be successful, this is too hard, this other people country, I don't have anyone here, and all that stuff, right?
So they half-ass it, you feel?
Yeah, because back then when I started my business, I wanted to stay in Australia and do business. A lot of people from Indonesia was telling me, what are you doing there? Just come home. You're not going to be successful. It's hard making business in Australia. You're not going to be able to do anything in Australia. Come home. All these noises. Yeah. If I can't get rid of that fear out of their head, and then that's just it. And then they become, they just try, but they don't really try. Again, it is all related, Joel. Those comfort zone that they have. Okay, even if I don't do it here in Indo back then, a lot of international students are coming from a well-off family, and I can come back home to my daddy's lap anyway, anytime, right? He's got a business, and maybe I just continue that and all that. But for those who wants to stay here and build something, number one, they need to believe that they can do it, and I hope we have become the inspirations because we've done it. We went against the flow. A lot of people said that, especially it was harder 15 years or 20 years ago when I started here in Australia, even worse, even harder than today's climate. But then once you do that, then get them to believe, and then obviously get them to understand the forest, get them to understand this is a different jungle. This is not Indonesia. This is how you do things here in Australia. So, and that comes all the skill sets and all the, understanding and knowledge about it.
Yeah. One thing that I never liked, but I noticed was a common thing, was a lot of Indonesians. Sometimes my family, my relatives, or just people, they always tell me Australia is a tough place to do business. You could be doing the same thing in Indonesia and you would succeed. Australia is just hard. The economy's not good. The consumer behavior here is different. And for me, I always just feel like I don't think that's the case. I feel like you can succeed anywhere, you just got to try. You just got to get out of the mindset of, this is a different place, so it's not going to work. But yeah. Yeah,
that's, it's a very difficult statement to hear because if we're going to, especially like you mentioned earlier, Joe, you're just starting. Yeah. And then if you hear this kind of noise, I remember back then it was like, oh my God, you just put up the fire.
But for me, I use that as motivation because I'm going to make it work and I'm going to go back to this guy and say, I did it. You know what I mean? I can.
A lot of people in Indonesia, well, I don't... Here, put it this way. I don't blame them because in Indonesia, the market is huge. 267 million populations. You imagine this. Anything that you build, you throw it to the market, someone will absorb it. Someone will take it. Someone will take it. It's too big. That's why you can have the same shop here again, the same, kedai warung-warung. There's so many places because they serve their own markets and it's huge. Number two, I think especially back then during my time, Indonesia, it's all about connection. Sometimes you don't have to be too savvy in what you're doing. Your product doesn't have to be the A+ product. As long as you have the connection, you play the back door, you do the back door. That's it. So it's like magic, you know.
Yeah. But what I noticed in Indonesia, a lot of businesses and industries compete on price, isn't it? Because of the population, because of the competition, right? So isn't that itself also a negative thing? And then in terms of that, once you compete on costs, the quality starts to, it becomes inferior. You end up having an inferior product.
That's right.
Yeah. So I guess that's a trade-off, don't you think?
That's the experience where, and about 9 years ago, we went to Indonesian market with our manufacturing, because the product that my business partner own is a high end. Well, Indonesian at least sees it as a high end, so it doesn't suit the market. So we even have to build a special range just for Indonesian market. We trundle everything. Trundle meaning you rip off everything. You don't need this kind of thing. You don't need that safety plug. You forget about safety and all that kind of stuff. No, our product is still safe, right? So we still comply to the Australian standard. It's very high. But then we took out everything. We used a cheaper material. We cut these edges. We don't use that leg. This is talking about commercial kitchen appliances, and because of the market, they're on a price war. They don't care about quality. As long as it's cheap, I'm going to use it. But I think, again, it's depending on the market, Joel. If you come into a market like that, you came in with Bentley. If they're not ready, nobody's gonna use it, So we have to adjust to the market as well at the same time. But slowly, then you can educate the market, because I think in every market there will be people who will appreciate this kind of thing, and then you will appreciate quality rather than just cheap. But this is quality. We're talking about quality.
Yeah, awesome. Well, it's starting to get late now, so I'll try to wrap this up, Ko. But can you please try to summarize what's the objective here at 11 Space? What are you trying to do here?
So in the 11 Space, we want to become the catalyst to help entrepreneur to start or to initiate their dream, to reach their dream. And we want to become their mentor. We want to be helping hands. I hope through my incubator, which is in Jakarta and in Melbourne, they can find everything that they require to build a successful business. I even use analogy as this space is like a business farm. So a farm, to have a good harvest, a good crop, you need the good seed, which is the entrepreneur. But then that good seed needs a good soil, it needs a good water irrigation, it needs a good sunlight, it needs the fertilizer, it needs the people who work, it needs the farmer, blah, 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 all the tools. And I hope that at 11 Space, we have managed to provide every single thing that the seed needs for them to grow and to become a good harvest. And we all can enjoy together.
Awesome. And what's your last piece of advice for, like you said, young people who are looking for a mentor?
Well, come to 11 Space. Look for a mentor. We're here ready. Reach out to our Instagram at 11 Space or myself, Ivan Tandyo, right? I hope you put a link.
There'll be a link.
There'll be a link there. I'm just joking, bro. Yeah. Well, I think find a mentor. Find a mentor. That's so important. And listen. Be teachable, because no matter in what stage you are, you can always grow to the next level. And you can only evolve and change and grow to the next level if you have ear to hear and a heart who listens. It's so important, because not just your ear, but if you don't use your heart is not open, forget it. Just find a mentor and then listen to them. Yeah.
Awesome. And you know what, Go, while you're still here, I mentioned this to juniors, I'll bring it up with you too. Do you know people like Ty Lopez, Dan Locke, and all these online entrepreneurs? What differentiates? How do young people, instead of finding these fake entrepreneurs who are selling courses, how do you get them to find legitimate mentors?
Yeah, well, I don't want to mention brands, but okay. Anyway, but I mentioned it to you earlier, Joel. Every program that we do here is based on real story. That's one of the value that we have within 11 Space, that every time we curate a program, it has to come and reflect back to the real story that we've been through. So it's a real thing. And with us, we're not just a coach, but we are a coach who swam for the Olympics. We've already done it. We've done what we're saying. We teach what we have done. And we've been through so many mistakes and failures, and the experience that mind-boggling that sometimes only happen in the movies, but we went through it for a reason, and that's a blessing in disguise. So I can use that as a model and as a, so that the program that we do, the experience that they get as an entrepreneur within this space is real as it can get, And until today, I'm still operating my business. Like, it's not like, I've worked for IBM before and I don't work anymore. Until today, we're still a businessman. We still run our business, and we're investing in these people as well. And I built this community for us to be able, one day, these startups can collaborate with us or work together, become our partners, or we invest in them or things like that,
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, Ko. Really appreciate it.
Has to be real, Jill. It has to be real. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, man. I'll catch you at the next one.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you
Thanks.
for having me. Thank you. Thanks, Jill.